Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Let me tell you something, brother. Dave, Gaz, and Sam are here, and so are my 24-inch pythons, dude. And what you gonna do when the Monday Night Chores podcast runs wild over you? Ooh.
Kia ora, friends, and a special mention to our fans in Kenya. You are listening to the Monday Night Chores, possibly the best retro wrestling podcast, which is sometimes funny. Myself and two chums take a look each week of the Monday Night Wars between Raw and Nitro to decide which was the best. I am your host, Dave Mack, joined by the podcasting equivalent of the $1 Million Man, Gareth Wadland.
Hello.
And the podcasting equivalent of Virgil, Sam Wakefield.
Yeah, Abusi, yo!
Is that Kenyan?
That's hello in Korean.
Is it? Go for the Korean market.
Because we had a Korean listener, didn't we?
Wasn't it Kenyan?
Kenyan.
No, we had a Korean one. So that's when I started learning how to say hello in Korean. And then later on in the week, we found out we were the #1 wrestling podcast in Kenya. And I thought, I can't learn 2 languages.
Barely mastered English.
If that, yeah.
I mean, technically he's English, but lives in Korea, so...
Oh, well, hello then.
Well, covering all your bases, I like it.
Fucking wasted all that time learning to say... Hang on.
It's all of your...
여보세요.
There you go. That's how you pronounce it. I had that in case I forgot at the last minute.
Well, that's really,
I thought no one would notice if I just went, hey!
여보세요.
That's exactly what you sound like. Exactly.
Wow, this is a bombastic start, isn't it? I'm enjoying
Really
this.
good.
We actually got to meet up this week, didn't we, chaps? And my highlight was getting myself a Lex Luger figure for a whopping £3 and he's now been stolen by both my daughters and is being forced to marry Barbies. So that's been quite exciting. How has your week been, Gaz? Is anything exciting going on in your world?
Well, apart from obviously now being internationally recognised throughout the podcasting world and meeting up in the lovely Battlesbridge Antique Centre, nothing really, no. Well, that was a good time out, though. Good bit of time out.
Nice, wasn't it? Yeah. Sam, how about yourself? What's the excitement in the Wakefield world?
Yeah, just sort of getting to grips with the another week of being given pocket money to buy some more retro games. So I played a little bit of the old Pride Fighting Championships on PS2.
Have you been Ken Shamrock yet?
Who was I? No, I was Don Fry, first off, who's a man who looks like, is it Don Johnson? Who was the guy in...
The Rock's dad, isn't it?
Drove around a Ferrari.
Well, this week I've got my youngest daughter to make the decision on what we'll start with, and she's decided...
Well, stop a minute, David.
Yes.
Last week, you lent your Raw Nitro coin to Gaz. Okay? I know we hadn't spoke about this, but I was under the assumption that this week I would have the coin. I've been checking my mailbox. There's no coin arrived, and now I find out you've given a decision to a pair of little snot-nosed little brats.
4-year-old child.
As you call them.
Before we carry on there, Sam, we already know that you can't be trusted with money. We've had that conversation about your pocket money. There's no way Dave's sending you a coin, regardless of if it's legal, tender or not.
You'd spend it on wrestling games or PlayStation 1 games you'll never play.
How much is a Raw Nitro coin worth?
It's priceless.
I would have spent it then. I would probably bought a 4-pack of Foster's.
Or Dragon Soup.
Keep the change. Or Dragon Soup, which is my new sponsor for the night. So anyway, carry on. Yeah, I didn't want to pick anyway this week.
Said, well, you're not getting the chance to. You've been usurped by a 4-year-old, so Nitro it is.
Well, I would have picked Nitro. Oh.
Well, there you go. You've got the mind of a 4-year-old child. So we're on Nitro the 16th of October, 1995, and we open up live. They don't actually tell us where it's from this week, bizarrely, but Eric Bischoff tells us...
Coming to you once again, live as live can be!
Quite interesting. I'm not sure if there's a different type of live you can be, but...
I picked up on that, making a massive point that we're live. The other guys, they're not live. We're as live can be. They're as unlive gets.
This is live, not like that non-live, not live stuff.
We didn't watch it live, though, did we, this week?
Wow, we channeled our 1995 live self, so yeah. We kick off. We've got Bobby Heenan, Eric Bischoff, and Mongo there. Mongo has got Pepe the dog, and Pepe the dog is dressed as a sort of weird, strange alien thing. And Mongo tells us he is Captain Love Dog. So it's one of the weird.
And then to add to that, Bobby the Brain Heenan wants to insert batteries in Pepe's bum. Or at least he thinks that's where batteries go.
Yeah, he asked him to turn the dog around, and he's like, "Oh, that's where the batteries." It's a weird opening, and even by WCW and Mongo standards, this is odd. So we immediately get Bobby. He starts hyping up the Sting and Ric Flair teaming up, and it's the first time they've teamed since 1990. And we get a quick recap from WCW Pro, which I suppose is I assume is a show that we don't watch, and it was on at a different time. But we get Ric Flair asking Sting to be his tag team partner for tonight's match against Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. So not the most exciting of openings, but kind of covers all of our bases.
I was going to say it wasn't, but there were some very funky editing shots going on throughout the entire segment. I don't know what was going on there.
It looks like a big field arena as well, doesn't it?
It does. They've got the lights really low, haven't they? And they've got the strobes on and everything. And yeah, Nitro looks good. It's got the black ring ropes as well, hasn't it? It looks a lot more gritty.
It looks like they put more money into it than Raw as well.
I think they have put
budget.
They've got more money than Raw.
They've got more money, and it looks packed because I think they papered about 45% of their Nitros at this point in time. So they've got like hardly anyone paying to watch it. But go there, get drunk, and watch wrestling for free. What can go wrong, really? I guess. First match we get Diamond Dallas Page comes out with the Diamond Doll. I don't know who on earth the Diamond Doll is, so I was surprised by that. He's got his TV title, and out comes Johnny B. Bad is the challenger for this one. And the crowd go mad for Johnny B. Bad. They seem to absolutely love him.
He's got a lot of frisbees on him, and the crowd love a frisbee.
I thought he had one that he sort of seemed to just tout to every side of the ring, but never bothered throwing it. So
maybe it was a boomerang, and he kept throwing it, and it kept coming back, and that's what I got confused with. Sorry,
his new gimmick. He's going from frisbee to boomerang.
I'll tell you what I did like on that: the recap as to why Johnny B. Bad lost his title shot versus Diamond Dallas Page was because Diamond Dallas Page burst his car tyres, and he couldn't get there.
Yeah, he slipped up, didn't he?
Who fucking writes this shit? Oh yeah, Eric Bischoff.
Yeah. I don't make it about car tyres. Who cares?
Hey, listen to this.
Wait, how did you know it was 4 flat tires? I said 8 flat tires!
No! What a punch!
The match doesn't even get going. We get Diamond Dallas Page attacks Johnny B. Bad from behind, but he gives him a title shot to the back, completely knocks Johnny B. Bad out. Then Diamond Dallas Page lays on top of him. He counts the 3 himself, and he shoots the confetti cannon into the crowd. And at this point, the commentators tell us that he's been disqualified, and says that, that's his. Mongo tells us he's naturally been disqualified. Can you get disqualified before a match starts?
Well, it could be a no contest.
Yeah, I thought disqualified seemed a little bit.
I mean, if we were to look at this like it was a sport, and I suppose a boxer or someone punched someone before the bell, they wouldn't start the match, would they?
No, but they don't call it a no contest. They call it a DQ.
Can you be DQ'd before the match starts? Whatever they call it, the fact is, though, any other time in wrestling, when it suits them, they can have the babyface get... It's at WrestleMania 6, I think. Ted DiBiase hides under the ring to attack Big Boss Man before his match, and he gets the shit beaten out of him. Then they just roll him in the ring and ring the bell. Sometimes it's for ref's discretion, isn't it?
I think that ref might have been distracted by all the sequins that Diamond Dallas Page was wearing, because he had sequins fucking everywhere. He had him on his robe, he had him on his waistcoat, his boots, his pants, maybe his underpants were covered in sequins. I don't know.
And then a lime green vest.
Yeah.
It was insane because he had like a sequin coat on, then he took the coat off, and then his waistcoat underneath was almost identical, just without the arms on it. It was just sequin mania. I was loving it.
I had a little count up, and
of sequins.
He was the most gimmicked man. He's got like a blonde curly perm. He's got sequins. He's got a cigar. He's got a lime green vest. He's got all this stuff going on. But weirdly enough, I felt him very believable. I don't know why that is.
What, as a sequined man?
I think DDP, and the one thing on this show that comes over is he's got charisma. And all of these sequins and silly gimmicks and everything that's going on. He's got a stupid big fat cigar and stuff. He hits someone with a title belt. He lays down, counts to 3 himself, and shoots the confetti cannon. It's like, actually, I've on my notes I've written, I don't think this is a bad angle. It's just got DDP over as a bit of a dickhead heel. So it's kind of job done, isn't it?
The only thing I would say with that, though, it was just pointless. That's my only gripe with it. What was the point of? Was it just for filling 3 minutes worth of airtime? Could they have not done something else with it?
No, I think it progressed whatever story they're doing in a way, isn't it?
But that's the point. Whatever story, no one knows what the bloody story
we
is.
We won't know yet, will we? Next week, it might just never find out.
For me, it's made me think DDP's a bit of a dickhead, and I think that was the point of it. So
badass.
Yeah,
I felt like he was a badass.
Yeah, a bit of a prat.
One man's dickhead is another man's badass.
Like a dickhead, like I'm an idiot. Look at me, I'm a knobhead heel kind of thing. Not a stupid heel, but a kind of badass.
Like how
I'm a dick.
How you two think I'm a dickhead, but I think I'm a badass.
Yeah, almost exactly the same as that. Yeah. If we switch over to Raw to get their opening promo, it is something of beauty. This is.
Oh, that's amazing.
Tonight, Bret Hart, inside this steel cage, I'm gonna apply the biggest set of braces in the history of the World Wrestling Federation to your team.
Isaac Yankem, DDS, Jerry Lawler, you are both respectively the tartar and the abscess of the World Wrestling Federation. And tonight, inside this 15-foot high steel cage, I am going to be your personal hygienist. Bret Hart, tonight, Isaac Yankem is going to cure your gingivitis and overbite. When he gets through with you, you're going to look like your trench mouth mother. And I know his victory is under lock and key.
I will give this my French kiss of the evening. It was amazing. It was so 90s. It was so awful. It was so good.
Sam, what was your thoughts of it? I'd imagine this is right up your street.
It was just fucking shit, wasn't it? Really? I mean, the fact that they're talking in dental terms, even Brett gets in on it, doesn't he? And he calls him an ulcer or something, and he's going to give him a good filling in, or I don't know. But it was all these dentist terms, and I just thought, fuck off. You don't see it in other sport, do you? You don't see a footballer come out and, it's just making a mockery of a...
I wish we saw footballers come out like dentists or clowns and they started doing promos. It'd be...
This is a treat.
I'd watch it.
I just don't want it in my pro wrestling.
Disappointed, Sal. I thought it was really good. It's stupid and wonderful. And
I'm not saying that it wasn't well produced. It was, but it's just not what I like.
Can you just imagine that Bret Hart reading that in the back and a little tear just trickling down his cheek, and he's going, "Oh my fucking God, I've got to do this shit."
I hope Stu's not going to see this.
Martha,
I hope my trench mouth mother ain't about for this one. Jesus.
You can imagine how disappointed he is in himself having to do that.
Just dies a little bit inside. Just, oh no.
But that isn't what Jerry the King Lawler's excited about, is it? He cannot wait to tell us that Shawn Michaels got beat up by... Well, he's saying he got beat up, and Vince McMahon's saying he got attacked by 10 people, isn't he?
And thugs, yeah.
It wasn't 10 people. He said he was pulled from his car by 10 people. How do you think 10 people can pull you from a car?
Clown car.
Oh, yeah. I thought they're really small.
They've gone out with Doink. Is that what you're telling me?
Jesus.
Yeah, it becomes the reoccurring theme of the night, doesn't it? Is Jerry Lawler trying to tell us this story about Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon trying to tell us a different story about it, and it grows throughout the evening. This one, doesn't it? It's an interesting.
Do you think that was like a bit of real animosity between King trying to put it out and Vince trying to protect Shawn, and he's probably just going, "Would you shut the fuck up, Jerry? Because I'm trying to."
Totally how it come across, isn't it? I felt like in this, King was probably just telling the truth. He was one step away from saying he was off his face trying to hit on someone's girlfriend, and he got what was coming to him.
He's like he just stirs the pot, King, doesn't he? Just, can I give that a little stir and give a little poke in there? Yeah, it was, I'm growing to like King. He might He might grind me a little bit.
I'm not sure I go that far.
No, I like King.
Paedophile.
I'm not saying I like everything he does, but I'm just saying as an on-screen character, I like him.
We get to the ring and we have Triple H is in the ring with his sort of pompous music and he's spraying perfume everywhere. And 2 minutes in, he sprays it over Vince and Jerry Lawler.
Oh my goodness, it smells like rain. It's some sort of insecticide.
Which I quite liked. And then, lo and behold, who comes out? It's only bloody Doink the Clown, isn't it? Out comes Doink. Fantastic, wasn't it?
Which Doink was it?
I know what Doink it was.
Of course you do. Sam.
I know what Doink it was as well.
It wasn't Matt Bourne, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Marty Jannetty?
It was Ray Apollo.
That's exactly who it was. For second Doink, because Matt Bourne had been sacked for basically being a massive druggie in '93. Oh. And this is actually Doink's last TV appearance till 1997. Oh, we both researched Doink, didn't we, Gaz?
Oh, lads.
Well, okay, what you got? Brooklyn Brawler, blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to do a Dean Douglas and basically grade both of you.
I didn't research him. I just found out that was who the Doink was because it was just bothering me. And I thought, what can I cut across Sam? Because he's always into this sort of knowing all about trivia bollocks that don't really matter. So I'll go this route.
Yeah, like the facts.
I'll corner the funny market. I'll corner the factual market.
Then we ease Sam out.
And we just don't need Sam anymore. Sorted.
I knew this whole podcast was set up to just destroy me. Let's make a podcast. Let's invite him on it. And then on week 7, let's make him redundant.
We're just going to keep cutting you down every week, Sam, until your confidence is so low that you just wither and die.
So I've just got 6 fucking dragon soups for every show. There were a lot of imposter Doinks, though.
Oh, like fake Doinks?
Yeah, who would claim, as seen on WWF, Doink the Clown, because quite a lot of people, I looked on the Wikipedia and a lot of people did play Doink, but some were only one-offs, and it was mainly Matt Bourne was the original Doink. Then you had, who was the guy you said, Apollo. Then it was Matt Bourne. It was the Brooklyn Brawler. Even Eugene, the guy who played Eugene, did some appearances as Doink, apparently. Yeah, I didn't. Mick Dismore, yeah. But there was the most famous fake Doink was Alabama Doink, and he recently died. But he was a Doink who was never a Doink, but claimed he was a Doink.
Is this like all those midgets that used to claim they were one of the Oompa Loompas in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but weren't really?
I've never met a midget who claimed that, and I think they like to be called little people.
I went to a wrestling show in Colchester, and they had one of the midgets who he claimed to have been in Willy Wonka as an Oompa Loompa, and he was dressed as a mini Hulk Hogan.
Wow, that's amazing!
It was unreal. Yeah, it was unreal. Gangrel headlined that one as well.
Who?
Gangrel. Yeah.
Gangrel.
Yeah, he was headlining in Colchester. Heath. So yeah, he was there spitting his blood and doing his porno stuff. So it's really good.
Yeah. I love Gangrel.
So during the match, we hear that Mabel and Dean Douglas have been fined $7,500 due to attacking The Undertaker and Shawn during last week's main event. I thought that's kind of weird because they don't really mention money in WWF very often. So it was odd. They then tell us that in medical terms, The Undertaker's suffered a crushed face. So I'm hoping at some point we get The Undertaker turning up with like a sort of pancake face has been crushed. But this was a legit injury, wasn't it? Mabel on a house show, like clotheslined and broke his eye socket, didn't he? So
that's where he starts wearing the Phantom mask, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
I hated that. And I'm pretty sure the medical term is not a crushed face.
No, Vince told us it is.
Well, what part of the face? Well, was it the orbital bone? Was it the nose? Was it like a...
No, it was the face. It was the crushed face.
Yeah, he just went to the doctor, just looked at him and went, crush face, innit? So Undertaker was like, oh, fair enough. And that's it. But yeah, so we're out there. We then start hearing a bit more about the incident that Shawn Michaels has been an incident in Syracuse, and they don't go into details because Vince keeps cutting Jerry off when he tries to talk about it. For the actual match, Doink gets in a little bit of a fence. There's quite a funny bit where he grabs Triple H's nose. And,
that bit.
And
whacks
it.
I love that.
Could you imagine nowadays anyone doing a fence on Triple H's nose of all things?
That was going to be my thing. Could you imagine how livid he'd be? Had that? I bet he loved that spot when he was doing it back at the time.
I remember in the Attitude Era, someone did a drop kick or some sort of offense to Triple H's nose, and Jerry the King Lawler says a nose injury for Triple H could be life threatening.
true.
It's probably true. Probably true. Overall, it's not really a great match, is it? It's not very long and not a great deal happens. We get the finish when Doink misses a top rope crossbody, Triple H hits the pedigree and picks up the win. So not much to really talk about, was there, from that one?
No, there was a little couple of bits in that I picked up on there. King referring it as the blue blood versus the green hair was a great little name, but also it's the match where I realised that Vince McMahon knows no names to any wrestling moves at all, apart from finishers.
What a manoeuvre that was.
Yeah, it's all he says. Or he refers to something as a forearm when it's an uppercut or an elbow drop. He's just got no idea.
He just shouts for body part that was used, doesn't he?
Yeah. Or he's pouring it on.
That's a leg to the stomach. That's called a kick, Vince.
Yeah. But unless it's a finisher, he doesn't have a clue. Or the other one he always says is they're just pouring it on. He's pouring it on now. Pouring what on? Just pour it.
Well, we don't want to know. The other bad habit that Vince has, which he does all the time through this era, is he prematurely calls the matches over, doesn't he? Like, he goes, that's got it. There's a point where Doink the Clown does a small package or a schoolboy, and Vince is like, oh my God, the match is over before the ref has even slapped down for a one. And it's like, you're not creating any tension by doing that.
The other thing is he always goes 1, 2, 3, it's over. Oh no, it was a 2 and kicker, which is fine, but he does it every single count. So it'll be like a headlock takedown, and they're pinning it 1, 2, 3, it's done. Oh no, it's not done. Sorry, it doesn't work. He does it too often. So
no,
he's a confused.
If you do it in a very occasionally, keep it in your back pocket, for a big event.
What he does though, he makes up for being like literally knowing fuck all by being as loud as possible. So if you shout loudest, then it's true. Everything's a manoeuvre, and it's over.
That's how podcasting works. If you shout the loudest, your opinion's the best.
Exactly.
We finish up by getting Barry Horowitz with Hakushi, and they're doing a little promo talking about baseball players.
Educating Hakushi.
Yeah, I don't know a great deal about Hakushi. I don't know a great deal about Barry Horowitz, and I know even less about baseball. So this is one of those moments that went totally over my head. So if we switch over to Nitro, we have got a Halloween Havoc promo. I think this is the first of 4, I think, in the show. And then next up, we've got Eddie Guerrero coming out, and making his debut is Mr. Chris Benoit. And we've spoken a lot about Chris Benoit, haven't we, over text, chaps? And it's kind of weird because I don't think there's much we can say about Chris Benoit that hasn't already been said. So I think we've all agreed we kind of do this podcast for a bit of light relief and a bit of fun. And I'm not sure any of us are that comfortable at the moment kind of making light of Chris Benoit and having a laugh. So I don't want to completely cut him out of the podcast because I think that's kind of pointless because he is a part of the Monday Night Wars. But I think we'll probably just cover his matches and try and keep it strictly at that at the moment, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would do a disservice to all of his opponents for us to cut him out of every episode, because he had some amazing matches and feuds. He was a world champion. He was involved with WrestleMania. Not that we're looking at covering pay-per-views, but yeah. But what we're basically saying, in a rare, change of character from us, we're going to just take the high road and we're just going to purely talk about the match. Don't expect us to talk about Nancy or anything like that.
Yeah, anything that's gone with him outside the ring, I think it's just, we can't say anything more that hasn't been said. So, and I think this is a prime example of it would be a disservice to Eddie Guerrero because this match is great, isn't it?
Can I just go back a little bit? Not about Benoit. Did Eddie Guerrero have new music? They've gone away from the Mexican stereotypical Arriba and mariachi band, and they've thrown him a bit of new music in. I like that.
Yeah, he seems to be moving away from that kind of si senor, I'm just a Mexican kind of man, and I'm happy with that because I think this is a really great showcase of what Guerrero is going to end up doing and what Benoit's going to end up doing on this podcast for us.
I did watch this match thinking that you'd have a big, massive boner for this, Sam.
Yes.
For this.
Yeah, this is Sam always.
The wrestling involved in it.
I didn't know how much was going to go into it because of, how we spoke about Benoit. And so this is what I wrote. And this to me is everything wrestling should be. Okay. It was fast paced, high flying, hard hitting, and technically sound, which was everything you would expect from these two. I'll include Dean Malenko in that, and Chris Jericho and lots of other guys who are going to come along. So Also, sorry, at this point, there is no cruiserweight division, is there? But after the match, Eric Bischoff says that they're basically trying to assemble a cruiserweight division and have a cruiserweight champion. And so this is why they're acquiring all these amazing talents from all over the world.
Yes, and I've got written down, Sam must be over the moon with this happening, because that's going to be
I loved
right up your street.
it made me want to go straight home from work immediately. Oh, no, I didn't watch this show at work, sorry. It made me want to go straight into the other room immediately and put on WCW versus NWO on my N64.
Yeah, what I've got written about this match is it's so snappy. The moves are really impactful, and before we had like Eddie and Malenko, didn't we? And the crowd weren't massively into it. This one, they were really into it because the moves were so vicious. I mean, we had Eddie doing a splash off the top rope to the outside, which was incredible, like flying through the air. To finish up the match, we get Benoit hits this incredibly aggressive power bomb that you can literally hear the crowd gasping at sort of how Eddie Guerrero gets folded up with it, and he kicks out of that, and we get a dragon suplex bridging into a pin from Benoit for the win, and he picks it up there. As much as I said we're not going to cover loads about Chris Benoit, and I'm not going to stick him on a pedestal saying he's brilliant, watching this I thought, wow, Eddie Guerrero is fantastic as well. Just the speed in which he was moving around the ring was like nothing we've seen. This is the best match we've watched doing this podcast so far.
Everything looked like it fucking hurt as well when they were doing it, the power bomb. But just to put a little bit of a lighter note on it, there's a lovely little line in there where Bischoff said the C in WCW stands for commitment. So I was thinking it's World Commitment Wrestling now.
I literally have that written down.
That.
World Commitment Wrestling.
Our favourite promotion.
The C in WCW stands for commitment. Commitment to bring you the biggest names in our industry, the most exciting young stars in our industry, and the best wrestling action live every week here on Nitro.
I was thinking to myself, right, okay, so it's commitment. And then Brain starts saying, and it stands for crippled after that powerbomb.
World Crippled Wrestling wouldn't be quite as
and then I thought,
watch,
it's not, exactly.
Sort of Paralympic wrestling, I think.
It was, that power bomb at the end, though, Jesus Christ. And Mongo said that would change the colour of your hair, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And then Brain said it would change the colour of your shorts.
Man, that would change the color of your hair, wouldn't it? Change the color of your shorts.
So you'd turn grey and you'd shit yourself. Yeah,
that's
good night.
I can't get over how he didn't fucking break his neck after that. It was ridiculous.
All in all, 2 thumbs up from me. A great watch, and looking forward to more of this sort of cruiserweight stuff. If we switch over to Raw, we get the USWA Tag Team PG-13 back out again. What are they called? Like Wolfie D and Ice G or Ice T or Ice P. Don't know. They cut a promo saying they're going to lasso the tag team titles from the Smoking Guns. Did you hear that bit where they said we're taking you fools to school because we're cool like water in a swimming pool? I did. I sort of zoned out on that, but
word life.
Yeah. Come
on, John Cena.
That's right, man. And then we're going to be the tag team champions. We're taking you fools to school because we're cool like the water in a swimming pool.
Young John Cena's taking notes going, I like this gimmick.
He was.
Yeah, the Smoking Guns come out and Gorilla Monsoon pops up and he tells us that Yoko Ono is going to face Mabel in your house replacing The Undertaker because he was the man who injured The Undertaker. In what world is booking 2 500-pound heels in a match ever going to convince you to book a pay-per-view?
In Vince McMahon's world.
Yeah, oh my goodness.
He loves giants, doesn't he?
Hold on a minute, Dave. In your world.
Not my world. That's horrendous.
You love a bit of behemoth on behemoth action.
Yeah, not 500
pounds. And I don't mean you're tasting porno.
I'm not interested in 2 500-pound heels. If one of them was a face, Yoko Ono can take it.
Fair enough.
We get a tag match where the Smoking Guns are pretty much in control. PG-13. They do the odd reversal and get the odd moves in, but they're doing that kind of heelish, kind of douchebaggy gimmick, and they're dancing and shucking and jiving a bit and kind of just being a bit arrogant, cocky heels, aren't they, about it, and get walloped back down.
Something that stuck out to me is how slim Billy Gunn is, isn't he? If you look at Billy Gunn in 2020, and especially Billy Gunn in like the DX era, the Attitude era, he was jacked, wasn't he? And like people always say he's deceivingly big. He's sort of like Hulk Hogan proportion big. And just sort of
Whoa. Sorry, no one's Hulk Hogan big. How dare you? He's bigger than a giant. I've seen a promo to that effect.
he bulked up a lot bigger, and then I'm not going to tell that story. Go on.
12 minutes in, Vince McMahon says, why are they called PG-13? And Jerry says it's because their mum still has to take them to the movies. So it's kind
I like that.
I thought it's kind of weird because Vince McMahon's actually doing quite a decent job of putting over PG-13 and telling us the tag titles are on the line all the time. And Vince is
He is,
kind of
apart from
pulling
saying everything's a fucking manoeuvre.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're not going to bother ourselves with thinking about actual wrestling, these guys. Come on.
What a maneuver that was!
Eventually, PG-13 take control, beating down Billy Gunn with a bit of nice tandem offense. We get a hot tag to Bart Gunn, and they hit the Sidewinder for the win. It's pretty much just a squash match of a tag match, wasn't it? And we had PG-13 kind of playing the bumbling heels. And not a great deal going on, but it was a serviceable match. What did you two think?
I thought it was a fucking waste of time. And it was just to be used to get over Shawn Michaels' assault charges or whatever it was, or his issues he's having. And it was just a nothingy match. And I think as well, they were really making PG-13 look like tits.
Yeah, nothing to add to that, really.
If you were keen of eye, you'd have noticed the crowd was pretty much empty at this point because this was actually a dark match.
A dark match?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a dark match. This was actually PG-13's trial match they had. So it was never originally a tag team title match. It was just a dark match.
But weren't they on last week?
This is a dark match that happened a few weeks ago because this episode of Raw is kind of bodged together out of extra segments that they needed to fill time with. Apparently, the higher-ups really, really liked PG-13. They were really keen to sign them, but the only problem was they thought they were a little bit too small and they were in a kind of cost-cutting position and they wanted to get rid of people rather than signing new people. So I think this is the last time we'll see them before they join up with the Nation of Domination. So, but yeah, if they'd been in a better financial position, they probably would have signed PG-13. You can see the seeds being planted for that too cool gimmick, though, can't you? Like you mentioned before.
Yeah, you can see that, yeah. But, I mean, is it just me or are we in a really shockingly bad era for tag teams?
Yes.
I mean, so the champs are the Smoking Guns and they were Owen and Yoko. You've got PG-13. Who else have we got at this time?
In your house, you've got the Smoking Guns are defending the tag titles against Razor Ramon and the 1-2-3 Kids. So
that's what I mean. They're just making up tag teams.
So basically, you've got one proper tag team, which have saddled with a shit gimmick, literally saddled with a shit gimmick, being Cowboys. You've got a tag team from another promotion, and then the rest are just single guys being put together.
Bashed together, yeah. So there's no division there. I quite like the Smoking Guns. I think they work well as a team. They're two big dudes, but there's just no one there for them to compete with. So it's a bit of a shame for them, really.
And now you're saying 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon are tag partners.
Yeah, we were pinning each other left, right, and centre last week or the week before. So mad, really. We get a nice little hype video for Bertha Faye taking on Alundra Blaze next week. So we're going to have some.
Who do you think Bertha Faye looks like?
My mum.
I've got down here, she looks like Roseanne Barr.
I love Roseanne.
Do you not think she look? I was thinking to myself watching this, she must be on hard times to notify Roseanne Barr. Because if she's going out there and she's having to wrestle Alundra Blaze.
Turning tricks in the ring. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah. You know.
I had a huge crush on Darlene in the probably about 1995. I used to watch Roseanne. Funnily enough, it's got a tie into wrestling because my mum got Sky, and I think while waiting for Nitro to come on, maybe I would watch the Paramount Comedy Channel, and I'd watch Cheers and then Roseanne, and then I think Nitro would come
How's
on.
that? That's not a tie.
That's a tie into wrestling. Oh, you mean you? What? Right. To you.
Yeah, well, either way.
I thought you were going to say something like John Goodman was actually the Big Show. Yeah. Like that would have been a tie into wrestling.
He was the Big Show's uncle.
Yeah.
Not the tie into wrestling I was expecting there, Sam.
Oh, so it's all right for you to talk for 20 minutes about your ball sack?
That's been cut out.
Yeah, you can't say that now, so I have to cut that out now, aren't I? So unless I leave the ball bag chat in, it depends how funny this episode is.
Leave it all in.
We can't not edit, because otherwise we just get you going, I'm going for a piss, and I'm not going to say that because that story's boring. Right, if we flip...
Breaking wind.
Yeah, exactly. It's a waste
That is pretty much what I bring to the show, isn't it?
If we switch over to Nitro, we get Mean Gene Okerlund is in the ring, and he is pimping the WCW hotline, where they're talking about a top WWF official has been fired, which was Bill Watts, which we spoke about last week, has given up his work after 3 weeks there. And then they're talking about a top WWF superstar having a fight with a fan in a car park, which is obviously Sean at Syracuse. Apparently, this is one of the best weeks of business the WCW hotline ever did, was by throwing these WWF mentions in there.
Because they're talking about the better promotion.
Well, interestingly, in this week as well, apparently Ted Turner started expressing a little bit of disappointment and a little bit of annoyance that they were mentioning WWF and Vince McMahon a bit too much. And Eric Bischoff kind of admitted that, yeah, he'd got it out of his system now and you won't see him mentioning WWF and Vince
after
anymore.
This week, because this week was just pumped full of give me a tinkle on my private hotline, says Gossip Girl Mean Gene, and I'll tell you all about the WWF.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll start toning it down, but it's heavy going this week, isn't it?
Shit, isn't it?
Yes.
Just to keep talking about it's like going to start a premiere in and you turn the telly on and it's like going, look what Travelodge rooms look like. Well, okay.
Yeah, but
that was a reach.
I suppose if they're doing good business, then people are paying like $1.49 a minute, so why not? I guess. At this point, we get the Giant comes out with the Taskmaster, and the first thing I've got is Kevin Sullivan looks absolutely awful in his red and yellow, and his unbelievably painted on eyebrows, which seem to go on forever.
He looked like, if you go to a party, you've had a few too many drinks and you pass out when you were younger and your mates get a biro and they dick about drawing on your face and then you wake up and it's all over the gram.
400
now. He looks like
Sharpies. It's unreal.
He looks like a prick.
He looks absolutely, and that's the first thing I wrote. He just looks ridiculous. The only good thing he does here, his only function, is he makes the Giant look even bigger than he actually is.
The thing I've got written is Mean Gene looks comically small next to the Giant, but he's exactly the same height as Kevin Sullivan.
Height, yeah.
It's just like, oh my days. The other thing I've got noted is, what is Kevin Sullivan's gimmick? We've been watching this...
An egg with legs and arms that can't speak and has biro on his face.
We've watched for weeks and we don't really know what the Dungeon of Doom or Kevin Sullivan are about, do we?
A Satanist occult leader. And he used to have a guy who brought a snake to the ring, and also Nancy Sullivan, who was going to be Nancy Benoit, was like sort of dressed all in black and all. I was just kind of this sort of vague satanic sort of occult, but they don't explain any of that in WCW. He just booked himself into that position with what he saw to be the biggest future star, and
so he's gone from that. He's gone from that, and he's merged it into a menagerie with a shark, a guy dressed like a fucking zebra, a Kamala, and a guy with biro on his face. What the fuck?
Meng. He says he's the personification of evil, and he says that Hulk Hogan isn't evil, even though he dresses in black. There's still a bit of good left in Hulk's heart, and he's taking away Hulk's identity by shaving off his moustache. He keeps droning on, I'm evil.
So it reminded me of when Sam was doing his first bits when we did the podcast, where he was just going on and on about someone that we don't care about. Oh my God, come on, Sam. Talking about Sergeant Craig Pittman. Ooh.
Well, I've been called a lot of things. I'm not going to be called the Kevin Sullivan.
You are the taskmaster, mate, of Monday Night Chores.
Sam Sullivan.
What was the Giant doing as well? Just laughing to himself every couple of seconds, like some maniacal tit.
Yeah, it's like he wasn't listening either. It's just, I'm going to stand here and chuckle. At one point, Kevin Sullivan says he's going to make all the Hulkamaniacs become children of the Dungeon of Doom. I am not letting my 2 children near a short little fat man who likes dressing up as a woman and throws cocaine in people's faces.
And talks about dungeons.
No.
That's fucking how. What was his name? Schnitzel? No.
Stop talking about serial killers and genocide and it's too much, Sam. I've got written down the Taskmaster's promo is bad. He's just not engaging me at all. I'm not like, I want to listen to what you've got to say. It's just him waffling on. What I did enjoy is the Giant starts cutting a promo. And did you notice Kevin Sullivan starts touching his hand? And just
no, it was. It looked like to me he was turning him ever so slightly to the camera because he wasn't facing the right way.
It's just like,
come on, just shuffle around just a little bit.
It's like he was just tenderly stroking him. Not really great stuff from this segment, was it?
No, not really. No.
I've written down it's a very paint by numbers generic promo, as much as a promo where you're talking about two men in monster trucks can be generic, but nothing of interest coming from this one. Don't find
there was a little Hogan chant though, little Hulk Hogan chant going on in the crowd at one point.
We've moved away from Chicago, so we're a bit more pro Hogan now, aren't we? But overall, not great.
Hogan, when I get you in Detroit on that rooftop, brother, let me tell you something. When we lock up bumper to bumper, grill to grill, truck against truck, Hogan, I'm gonna push you all over that roof. I'm gonna try to push you off that roof. And when the jaws of life pull your miserable carcass out of that wreck and drag you into the ring, I will strip you of that belt. Do you understand what's gonna happen, Hogan? Mean Gene, do you wanna see the hand that destroys Hulkamania?
I think it's bigger than Moose Scourin's first baseman. Thank you.
If we flick back over to Raw, we get the British Bulldog and Jim Cornette being interviewed. And Cornette says that the Bulldog is going for the title that has eluded him for so long. Gaz, he's stolen
Bloody
your
hell,
gimmick.
did Gaz write this promo? Yeah.
Cornette has stolen the elude gimmick. I couldn't believe it.
Do you know what I will say? Jim Cornette, what a dick he comes across as when you hear him talk in real life, but what a promo he can cut.
Yeah, he can talk for days about nothing but make it engaging. He's like the polar opposite of the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan. He's talking and he's got nothing interesting to say, but you want to listen to it for some reason. I was quite excited because Doc Hendricks looks like he's in his Disco Inferno cosplay with his shirt unbuttoned down to his like midriff and everything, and he's talking about how the only way that he pinned Diesel last week was because of Yoko Ono's leg drop. This point, the Bulldog loses his shit. He's like, no way. He takes off his Union Jack jacket, throws it down.
Like that.
He hasn't got his brown corduroy cap. He's left that at home, and he says it's all about a lack of respect, and he's going to pin Diesel in your house, and this is it. It's another really fairly generic promo, but I kind of enjoyed this one because Cornette just feels like he's drawing me in a little bit more.
Yeah, I love British Bulldog, but God, that accent, when you hear him, it's so jarring when he's speaking. To hear him up against or contrasted against your Cornettes or whoever it is that's talking, Shawn Michaels, just with his Manc accent.
It's that Manc accent. He just sounds a bit of a thicko. No offense to any Mancs that listen, but
his promos were shit.
Talking of terrible promos, we then get Ahmed Johnson crops up.
Honor is when you watch your mother go to work every day, making a minimum wage. Although you know in your heart that she's not a minimum wage woman. But yes, she's making a minimum wage. But then she can find that $8 it take to bring you to a WWF event. And then you look at her and you say, Mama, I appreciate that. So you go to school the next day, and you do the best you can do for her and yourself. That's honor.
The only thing I've got written down is he seems to be talking so loudly, yet I can barely understand a word he's saying. And
I was going to say, I had two points I had. Was one, I didn't know what he said at all. But two, why was he sweating so profusely talking? Had he just come back from a workout and or just come out of the shower? He was dripping.
Yeah, it was a weird promo. Not really very good. Wasn't enjoying that one at all. And this is the first time we've seen Ahmed Johnson, and I don't want to see him again.
Did make me think his mum, who was working so hard, wasn't really prioritising her finances, was she? I mean, $8 plus travel and maybe like a Coke once you got there. He seems to think she was doing a good job, but not really, was she?
Dean Douglas coming out next, and he looks like he's stolen Skip's in-ring gear of the little blue singlet thing. He looks pretty terrible. We've got 19 minutes, 20 seconds in. Jerry Lawler says Dean isn't worried about the $7,500 fine. He'll just raise tuition fees. Which I thought, well, that's fine. Who's he teaching? So if he's charging tuition fees, but he's also working in the WWF, does he just have these students following him around on his WWF schedule and he's going to raise fees for that? I feel this gimmick's falling apart.
I think you're taking it too seriously, Dave.
Have I overthought this one?
Not real. He's not really a teacher, no.
Maybe he's a pioneer of the virtual classroom.
Yeah. Yeah, back in
And he's-
95.
Maybe he had
Back in '95, he's doing dial-up, and he's trying to get all these kids to dial-up, call into his lessons. But I tell you what, I would say about him. I think Sam spoke about it before. He's a great, arrogant-looking heel with a very Mr. Perfect sort of vibe to him.
Thank you. I put here, and what he wins the match with a perfect plex, doesn't he?
Yeah, Fisherman suplex. Beautiful move.
Yeah. So, I mean, I alluded to it a couple of weeks ago.
It's
Ludorama.
It's
To steal a phrase from a very wise, handsome man.
It was a jobber match. I mean, I don't even know who the dude he was wrestling was, but the guy he was wrestling was
I
very
tried
light.
to look at the back of his tights a few times,
Yeah.
and then I thought, yeah, I'm not going to write his name down anyway.
Joe Dorgan.
The back of his tights said Hot Bod.
Joe Dorgan.
Yeah.
Joe
Oh,
Dorgan.
yeah, it did say Joe the Hot Bod Dorgan.
So there you go. This was just an average squash match, but we got a phone call from Mr. Shawn Michaels, because this is where Vince tells us that Shawn was attacked by 10 thugs outside a nightclub. Jerry Lawler says he was running his mouth and got beaten up, and I think Jerry Lawler's account is a lot closer to the truth than what
Yeah,
Vince's
it's like
is.
they were playing a game of truth or lie, and I think we know on this occasion who's telling the truth.
Vince tells us we should give Shawn credit just for showing up at In Your House this weekend, and Jerry says he'll flunk his final exam when he gets in the ring with Dean Douglas. So again, it was a nothing squash match, but this was just crowbar and a Shawn Michaels telephone interview, really, wasn't it?
I was hoping for a run-in from that woman in the crowd last week.
Smacking Dean,
Comes just battering Dean Douglas in the head.
Dean against the crazy old woman in the front row.
Yeah.
Throw cocaine in his face.
Did you also notice when Doc Hendricks was shilling Two Dudes with Attitudes t-shirt, he kind of sneaks in there, t-shirt, one size pretty much
Fits
fits
all.
everyone.
Yeah.
So you've only gone and printed off one size of t-shirt, haven't you?
Tell you what that reminded me of.
XXL.
That was a very much a Del Boy Only Fools and Horses thing, where they're trying to flog something that you think, what the fuck are they trying to sell here? It's just, you got no hope of selling it. Daniel Pecker Market.
Yeah, probably it's been spelt Shawn Michaels or something like that. They've just got to shift them.
Doc also says he'll throw in one of his scruffy porno videos, doesn't he, as well, for good measure. And I looked these T-shirts up online, and they are incredibly rare nowadays, because apparently they sold bugger all of them, because no one wanted to walk around with Two Dudes with Attitudes written on them. So
Like the size of a dress as well,
Yeah,
because it was XXXL.
horrendous, but not so good there. If we switch over to Nitro, we get a hype package for WCW Saturday Night, and then we get Disco Inferno's music again. And 24 minutes in, Eric Bischoff tells us,
This guy is making me cough up my toenails.
Yeah, what was
Didn't
that?
get that.
about?
Didn't get that.
I don't really understand what that is, but Meng comes out and Disco just sort of gets out of the way and Meng goes to the ring. Meng's mask is incredibly ill-fitting, his like mask cape thing, and then out comes everyone's favourite American, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. When I was a kid...
Is that Meng? Sorry.
Yeah.
I did a Sam. I thought Mask, Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
That's what I just assumed.
It was Rey Mysterio's granddad.
Sorry.
Meng Mysterio. I love Hacksaw Jim Duggan. When I was a kid, I thought he was like the best thing ever. I'd happily shout
Yeah.
ho and USA and brilliant. Yeah.
I'm
This-
impressed the gimmick can carry on,
Yeah.
because that's all he does, doesn't he? Thumbs up, does an Orange Cassidy, and then hose it.
One thing I like about him, and even nowadays when he still makes appearances like years later, he always looks really grateful and happy. And I kind of like that. He doesn't look like one of these people who sort of begrudgingly turns up. He looks like he's really enjoying himself. And he seems like a nice chap, doesn't he? So, yeah, he smokes a lot of pot, doesn't he? This one's a bit of a dud, though, as a match, isn't it?
You say that. It was a fast-paced match. All right, there was no actual wrestling apart from one slam in the match. But
Gaz, do you know why it was fast, Patagon?
I was going to say it's fast-paced because they got blown out after about 30 seconds. They were dying on their ass. But there was an attack before the bell, wasn't there?
Yes.
And he didn't get DQ'd. DDP did. Is it a vendetta against DDP? What the fuck?
Down to the ref's discretion.
Wasn't a title belt shot knocking him out.
The match was about 1 minute 57 in total. So it was quick.
Thanks for that.
It was
And it was too long. It was 30 seconds too long for me.
I got to shout ho
yeah,
a lot as well,
I
so
was
I enjoyed myself.
stomping around shouting USA because, Taxel.
Yeah.
If we switch over to Raw, we get Jerry the King Lawler's little cage is being brought to ringside. We get a cut to a bunch of dudes in shirts and ties putting the blue cage together, and we quickly switch over to Goldust, who cuts a really short promo about Marty Jannetty. It was kind of short and sweet, but I'm kind of interested by Goldust.
I am, but just jumping back a bit, you missed the In Your House promo with Fatu wearing a big hat. What's he got under that hat? to keep his head hard. Is it a horseshoe?
Looks like he had like a melon underneath.
He's got something under there when he headbutts people.
That's why his head's so hard.
That's what it is. A couple of bricks. Oosh.
So Vince McMahon says that Bret Hart has had over 50 cage matches. Has he? Really? Is there 50 Bret Hart cage matches on the WWE network?
Probably used to do it down in the dungeon with Stu Hart, didn't he? We got a nice little promo from Paul Bearer as well. He starts talking about Yoko Ono and Mabel have crushed the Undertaker's face, but the Undertaker's going to be back soon. I quite liked it because we get a lot of Paul Bearer really close up and classic.
We've done. Who does old Bertha look like on WWE? Who does Paul Bearer look like?
Dave.
Yeah.
He looks like Boise from Only Fools and Horses with a high pitched voice.
It's the second time you've mentioned Only Fools.
I know. I'm trying to link it.
So
are you trying to start your own Only Fools and Horses podcast?
Only Fools and Chores.
The Only Fools and Horses wrestling.
Only Fools and Whores.
The Kenyans will eat that shit up. I'm telling you, Kenya will love that. So, if we fire over to Nitro, we get Hulk Hogan is all in black, and he starts talking about his little manioids. And he said,
Hulkamaniaoids, yeah.
Hulkamaniaoids. That never took off, did it? Hulkamaniaoids.
Nah.
What?
Sounds like hemorrhoids,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
I had to rewind it a couple of times because I was like, no, they're Hulkamaniacs.
So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor goes, yeah, you've got a really bad case of hemorrhoids. And he goes, they're not hemorrhoids, brother. They're Hulkamaniaoids. And they're falling out my ass.
What you going to do?
What you going to do
Hemorrhoids
when the Hulkamaniaoids teabag you?
He says everyone was shaking with fear as people know the evil within him is real. He calls himself Don Corleone at one point. He starts banging on about...
Yeah, who is that? Is that a gangster?
Godfather.
I've never watched it.
More for you.
Like The Sopranos.
He's banging on about his training and his vitamins, and he starts talking that the giant hasn't looked him eye to eye and seen what Hulkamania is really about. He then says that he could stop an elephant, which I thought immediately I would love to see Hulk Hogan stop a fucking elephant. That'd be brilliant.
Oh, that'd be so good. Man, elephant.
For man versus animal.
Yeah.
But he says that, and then he comes out with he can bring promoters to their knees and cry as Hulkamania is bigger than their whole stinking promotions.
He doesn't realize I can stop an elephant in its tracks. He doesn't realize I can make promoters drop to their knees and start crying because Hulkamania's more powerful than their whole stinking promotion.
He's so in love with Vince, isn't he?
Oh,
he just can't stop going on about him. I thought at this point that Kevin Sullivan was going to reveal a new character to his stable, the Elephant.
The Elephant, yeah, he's so good.
And it was going to be like, I don't know, Akeem, the American Dream, or whatever his name is.
He's from
Bam Bam Bigelow dressed as an elephant, and Hogan just stops him.
He's from Tornado.
Yeah.
I wonder how he'd stop him. What, like in Crocodile Dundee, he does that thing to the buffalo?
Oh, yeah, that.
I thought he'd just full on headbutt him and just like a full on nut in each
Not
other.
Fatu. Whoa.
24-inch Parthens.
Hogan is all in black here, but really nothing's changed about the actual Hogan character, because this was a really shit promo, wasn't it? And then it made me think about that time when Eric Bischoff proposed to Hogan, but he dropped... Yeah, I'll save it for next week.
We get a good part where he says that the Stinky Giant is stepping on his turf, and then we get Jimmy Hart in a really worried kind of, oh God, I don't know what's going on. He sounds a bit like Paul Bearer.
You better stay out, Jimmy.
Yeah,
he says,
Jimmy Hart says he's worried because he's told him what he's going to do to the Giant and the Taskmaster, so he's worried there. Then Hulk Hogan calls him the big, filthy, stinky giant, and then goes and pretends to spit as well. It's incredible. He says that they're fighting for destiny, and he's going to press slam the giant above his fucking head now.
He's not.
We then finish, and I had to rewind.
I hope he is.
I'd love to see him press slam fucking. I was going to say Andre the Giant.
Did you see when Kevin Nash tried to fucking powerbomb Paul White? It didn't go well.
Nearly broke his neck.
Yeah, basically nearly killed him.
We finished the promo by Hulk saying,
So what you gonna do, big stinky giant and Kevin Sullivan, when the shadow, the darkness, the evil of Hulkamania gouges you?
as much as I appreciate wrestlers changing character and doing different things, the whole kind of evil, dark-sided Hulk Hogan doesn't really work because he still keeps talking about his little Hulkamaniacs and how...
No, Hulkamaniacs.
Hulkamaniacs, sorry. And you've got to eat your vitamins and say your prayers and do your training. So it's kind of like we're getting classic Hulk Hogan in his shouty promo style, trying to be evil, but doing the exact same thing. So
this is Hogan doing his own thing, but just dressed in black.
Yes. That's
all it is. And channeling his inner godfather. That's literally it.
But I think,
but it's no similarities between this and NWO. Yeah.
I think Hogan though thinks he's doing something different here, doesn't he?
He does.
He thinks this is I'm pushing the boundaries by wearing a black neck brace, and he's not. This isn't.
He's not doing it.
It's classic Hogan shouting, but still not great.
And he's changed the word maniacs to manioids, and he's gone whoa.
But we
cutting edge.
But we still got to take them vitamins.
But even so, I fucking loved it. I don't care. I fucking thought it was amazing. It was brilliant. He's going to bury him next to his dad. Didn't Andre the Giant get cremated?
Yeah, not in Detroit.
And he's scattered in France, not in Detroit. So
I thought when Big Show's dad died, that Big Boss Man dragged him out of the funeral grounds on the back of the cop car.
Who's the
Big Bubba?
Who's the Big Show?
Oh, sorry.
This is so confusing.
Kayfabe.
The fucking Marks are listening.
I was gutted that Hulk Hogan didn't challenge anyone to a match in heaven like he did Gorgeous George.
So that'd been good.
If you don't challenge someone who's dead and up in heaven, then I'm not interested. If we switch over to Raw, we have got the main event. We've got Isaac Yankem coming to the ring, and we've got a few recaps of how we got to this match of Yankem versus Hart in a steel cage match. We then get a nice promo for a 20-man battle royal next week to see who's going to face the Intercontinental Champion. So quite looking forward to that. We're going to see a lot of talent then, so that'll be quite interesting to have to see what the roster's looking like.
Leading up to Brett versus Yankem, Jerry the King Lawler keeps alluding to the fact that he is the key to victory.
Yes.
It's not the first time he said it. Now, I'm no detective. This is a cage match. They use a key to lock the door.
I don't know what you're talking about, Sam.
I was getting suspicious by this point, thinking, what does this man know?
I was hoping it's a very low cage, like in WCW. You don't need a key, just step over it.
If Kane could just step into it anyway. So.
Yeah.
We get Brett coming out, and this one, early doors, Brett takes a bit of control and he goes for the first escape, but Yankem yanks him back in. Get a bit of back and forth. They kind of trade escape attempts with each other, don't they? And pulling each other in and out and stuff. So,
yeah, I was just going to quickly shoehorn in for Blue Cage. I thought this was... I thought the Blue Cage didn't go much longer after this, did it? Well, I was right. It was used in SummerSlam in the opening match between Triple H and Mankind. It was in the opening match because the cage took so long to set up, so it just had to be the opening match so it wouldn't cut time to the show. It was used again on Raw with Terry Funk and Cactus Jack. And then the last time it was seen was at In Your House Breakdown in 1998 with the first ever triple threat cage match between Ken Shamrock, The Rock, and I don't know who the other person is. I can't read it. Mankind. The
Rock. Like the way just to the end, you peter off. I'll give up on myself. Fuck it.
Look, I've got it all.
Oh, look, there's the cliff. Let's steer that way.
32 minutes in, Jerry starts yelling at Yankem to stomp a mud hole him and walk it dry. JR somewhere's taking notes, thinking, I might use that one day in the future.
That is future gimmick infringement.
There it is. So I thought JR was a pioneer. It's a pretty punchy and kicky match before Brett asks for the door to be open, but lo and behold, the official can't open it. We cut to Jerry Lawler, who's looking incredibly smug with himself, doing a lot of eyebrow raising. And what's he got under his crown? He's only gone and got a bloody lock. And he's got the key for it, hasn't he? And says this is why he was the key to victory. Vince McMahon's fucking fuming at this. He could not be unhappier if he tried, could he?
What a cheeky little rascal, old King is. I didn't expect that either.
No, me neither.
We get Yankem gets press slammed off the top rope and Brett slaps on the sharpshooter. He releases it and tries to climb over, but Jerry Lawler climbs up the other side and knocks him down. And at this point, I thought Sam's going to be over the moon because Gorilla Monsoon is coming out and telling Jerry Lawler he's got to go in his little cage. So this is the sort of stuff you love, Sam, isn't it?
But prior to this, Vince McMahon said to Jerry, no wonder you said the match was under lock and key. And I thought, fucking hell, Vince, keep up.
Oh,
And Vince was like, I get it now. Cage match. You knew you had another key.
One thing I was well impressed with is when Jerry Lawler is getting punched on that cage, he is bouncing backwards and forwards and selling like a pantomime dame, isn't he? His selling is so over the top and hilarious. We're getting a load of Burger King chants as he gets stuffed in a cage, and they start winching it up really high, don't they?
Really slowly.
Really, really slowly. We get a fantastic shot, though, of the entire arena. So you can see the cage, you can see Jerry Lawler in his little cage, and they've got a camera on Jerry in the cage on the Titantron. So you can see it all, and I thought that was really, really great there.
Did you notice that the mic was dangling?
Yes.
When he got in the cage, I was like, what's that dangling? And then Vince explains that, Jerry forgot himself and interfered.
Yes.
He momentarily forgot the consequences of what he'd been told for a whole week.
Yeah, he'd planned that out. He'd had the key and the lock hidden. He'd planned it all to the final nth degree, and he's gone, oh, fuck it, I'm going in to punch him in the face now.
He knew there was cameras there was thousands of people, everyone was watching, and he was like, oh, fucking just do it.
Yeah.
And then he was surprised when he got put in the cage.
What?
Vince said the King's getting a bit agoraphobic. Did that make
Agoraphobic?
sense? He was
Yeah,
already
because
in
it doesn't just mean small spaces.
so-
It just means out of situations you can't escape from.
Learn something new every
okay.
day, don't we? I thought it was really great because you've got Jerry in there and he's screaming that he's feeling sick and he's going to get a nosebleed. The match in the ring is really plodding, and at this point you can see there's quite a few people are starting to leave on this one. And then, lo and behold, what happens? Jerry Lawler only gets a fucking nosebleed, doesn't he? Blood is pouring from his nose. I couldn't have been happier at this point. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I'd stopped watching the match, to be honest with you, and I was just looking at King in the Cage. That's all I cared about.
It's
really.
all about the Cage King, isn't it?
I mean, I take it that Jerry doesn't fly to any of these towns. He has to go by car because his nose is so sensitive. So, he's been raised up about 4.5 meters, and his nose has started streaming with blood because of the altitude.
He'd have no chance going up in my loft. He'd be knackered. Apparently, he had a scab up his nose, and he picked it to make himself bleed. But he didn't tell anyone he was going to do this. So apparently this is the first time, I think, since... No, this is a Sam fact, isn't it? I think this is the first time since 1993 that anyone had bled on an episode of Raw.
Probably, yeah. And I've heard the technique of making your nose bleed before in old autobiographies and stuff. What you'd actually do leading up to it is cause a scab on your nose by some way of picking or jabbing.
Sniffing coke.
Sniffing coke. Yeah, it's an expensive way of doing it, I suppose.
More fun.
I'm sure Michaels was all right doing it.
Yeah. Also, the same. There was an angle when the angle was going on between Macho Man and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat back in the day. Steamboat gave himself a black eye with a wet towel. Apparently, you run a towel underwater and you hold it on your eye and just go, and it just makes your eye look. Well, it fucks your eye up. All these old little tricks.
What I do to get a black eye, I just shout "ho" in my front room for my wife, and then she just whacks me one, and that's it. Boom, black eye.
I just shout USA because my wife's a commie.
We get Vince McMahon compares Jerry Lawler to Tweety Bird up in a cage. Then Jerry with a really, really good life. Is she just wandering around the house again, Sam?
No, she's come out of bed to tell me to shut the fuck up.
Like a lost son. We're nearly done. I'm nearly at the end of my nose.
Tell that communist dictator to shut the fuck up.
Right, we get Vince McMahon compares Jerry Lawler to Tweety Bird up in a cage. Then, with a really good line, Jerry says he's going to be sick and tells Vince to get under the cage so he can get it on him, which I quite like. At this point, we get loads of people starting to leave now. This isn't a vintage Bret Hart match by any stretch of the imagination. This is a really bad in-ring performance, I think. Jerry Lawler tries to chuck the key to the cage to Isaac Yankem. Yankem goes to open the door. Bret does this sort of weird roll-up to him, then just sort of seems to punch him in the arse for some reason, which everyone enjoys. Bret throws the key away.
The well-known arse punch.
It's the arse punch. It's
Yeah.
like something you do if you're resting your mates, isn't it?
If you've got a bad case of a Hulkeroid, a punch to the arse could be devastating.
Hulkamaniacs, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah. that's
Punch
it,
him
yeah.
back in.
Punch him back up there. So that's how Hulk does it.
Hulkeroids are the tablets what give you big muscles, aren't they? I've got the two confused. Take your Hulkeroids, brother.
we get the Bulldog, we get the backbreaker, we get the elbow from the second rope, and then Brett just climbs out and he's won it. So it wasn't a great match. There was no real flow to it, but bloody hell, Jerry the Lawler was first class in that cage, wasn't
Jerry Lawler stole the show, yeah. And
absolutely.
I know when I'm watching a bad match for the podcast because I keep tapping the screen to check the time code. And I did that quite a lot here. I just kept tapping, 7.5 minutes. Jesus, 4.5. Like, that's how I know when I'm, and I did that a lot.
Are we done yet?
And it's mad, isn't it? You think this is a Bret Hart match, and you love Bret Hart, Sam.
I absolutely love Bret Hart.
Whether or not do you think that was because of working with Isaac Yankem, it didn't work, or just the feud itself was just a bit shit, or?
Yeah, well, it was, all of those things, because Bret Hart was a top level guy and they were putting him, in all these crappy second rate feuds, weren't they? It's like Vince just wanted to cool him off before he even got hot, wasn't it?
Are you telling me Adventures in Dentures wasn't a top feud? Because that's what King referred to it as, and it was a great line. But yeah, the feud was shit. The feud was
You
shit.
should have pretended you came up with that, Gaz.
I'd love to. It's on the episode, isn't it? I know.
I'm so glad that things got a lot better for Bret, didn't they?
Well, because
they got good. Then he went through this. He had to ride out this storm.
This again was a dark match. That's why the crowd are leaving so much. So this match was recorded but never intended to be aired. If we want one saving grace coming out of this is the blow off to the Bret Hart versus Jerry Lawler feud, and Bret is being shot to the main event now. Bret is leaving the mid-card crappy feuds behind, and we should be seeing him speed up that card from this point onwards. So,
do you think he was in that ring in a cage with a dentist with Jerry the King Lawler bleeding from his nose above him, going, "What the fucking hell am I doing here? My dad was Stu Hart, and my trench mouth mother will not be happy with this."
Do you also think that he'd be sitting there and he's wrestling Isaac Yankem in a sort of, you've got gingivitis match, and then he's also watching Shawn Michaels going out, sticking everything up his nose, getting into fights in clubs, not taking it seriously. Absolutely. And Bret's thinking, I'm the model professional. Why am I not?
I think Bret knew, quite honestly, he was the best prospect in that promotion. So, okay, you could argue he wasn't better in the ring than Shawn, but then you could argue that he was. But then when you look at other attributing factors, he was more reliable. He didn't do drugs. He didn't push everyone's buttons. He was good backstage, and he's been put through all this shit. And yet Vince is just seeming to be like, Shawn, he's an absolute little angel.
Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I don't know how my brother felt now growing up with me.
Also as well, Bret made his own costumes. His mum made his jacket. His dad made his glasses. And he just doesn't get anything, does he? Bless him.
There's Shawn just sticking everything up his nose and won't even go and talk to the kids, wasn't he? So.
Exactly.
You can see why Bret would be annoyed by all this, though. It's like you're the model student, and then it's the naughty one in the corner is the one getting all the praise. So
yeah, the big mouth.
What did we think of the show overall? I thought it was a bit of a poor Raw. It was cobbled together because they didn't have enough television time to fill before the next pay-per-view. So this is why it's all dark matches and a bit all over the place. Anything
to do with the Bill Watts firing as well, because of what they'd done prior?
I think because they were kind of missing out on some of the segments and some of the TV time they needed to fill, and because they didn't want to book it quite the way he wanted, they just didn't have the stuff there. So they kind of patched this together, I guess, really. So
yeah, it was all over the shop, wasn't it? It was very much like a Nitro, but there was no continuity with it.
No, and nothing really happened. I mean, obviously we get the cage blow off, but when I'm watching a show and Jerry the King Lawler in a cage is the best part of the night.
Far and away the best bit, yeah.
Yeah, got to worry about that. What are you thinking, Sam?
Yeah, I think, as I said earlier, I felt like it was a one-match kind of show, really. And the match, which it was built around, was pretty piss poor, wasn't it? Mm. So, I mean, you are soon going to forget about the smoking guns and PG-13. Even now, I couldn't tell you what other matches are actually on the show.
Triple H and Doink, how dare you?
Triple H and Doink, yeah. So, I mean, it was a one-match show, and that match was shockingly bad. And it had Bret Hart in it, so I didn't think I'd ever say that.
Sacrilege. If we switch over to Nitro, we have Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman coming out for the main event. They said it would never happen again. We've got Flair and Sting, and we've got Anderson and Pillman. We get Ric Flair comes out, and the commentators are talking about Sting hasn't come out with him. The bell rings, and it looks like we've got no Sting, so it's just Ric Flair in a handicap match. And Bobby Heenan tells us he's not even seen Sting in the building today, so it's not looking good for Flair.
Building up to this, Sting has expressed that he has trust issues with Ric Flair. So then, in a kind of very hypocritical manner, when his match comes, that he's meant to team up with Flair, he just thinks, I'll just fucking leave him to it for the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, see what
you've
happens.
said, I don't really trust you. And then when it's time to cover the bloke's ass, he just weren't there.
Double standards from the Stinger, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was a really good opening, though, because we get Ric Flair, he's chopping the life out of Brian Pillman, and he's strutting around, and he's getting the heels knocked outside, and he's really taking
Did you see that
of it.
chop that he gave, which knocked the referee over?
Yes.
The shockwaves from that chop must have been immense.
The referee done this about 3 or 4 times in this match.
Yeah.
Of like flinching from things and falling over. And yeah, I mean, Flair's clearly on fire in this one. We get Ric Flair takes control with Arn Anderson, and he reverses an Arn Anderson knee drop, grabs Arn's leg, and he goes to put him in the figure 4 leg lock, but he puts it on the wrong way.
Yes, he does, doesn't he? Yeah, it turns the wrong way.
How the fuck does Ric Flair not know how to put on the figure 4 leg lock? It blew my mind.
And then when he does put it on, old Bischoff refers to it as the old double-barreled semi-automatic figure 4 action.
Double-barreled semi-automatic figure 4 action in the center of the ring.
Arn Anderson hits a spine buster, and the crowd go mental. There is a huge pop, and out is Sting. Sting comes out, and we've got the heels then take control with Sting on the outside. He's finally come down to be with Flair. They've taken control. They're beating down Flair, and eventually Brian Pillman misses a drop kick, and we get the hot tag to Sting. So Sting comes in.
And the crowd are mental for Sting. So Gaz, I've got a question for you here. I mean, you came into this podcast as a major Hulkamaniac, didn't you? You've been taking your Hulkeroids and putting cream on
I've got Hulkamanioids coming out of my arse.
Hulkamanioids, yeah, all of that, your Hulkaroos. And seeing how stale Hogan is here in WCW, and the crowd being very apathetic to him, do you feel like there's any chance you could be converted over to the Stinger? Because he is the real superstar here, isn't he? He's appearing every week. When he comes into the ring here, he gets that high-pitched kind of scream, which here, for a lot of guys, do you? I just thought Sting is just far superior to Hogan at the moment. I'm sure Hogan will put a stop to that in some way or another. But
I like Sting. I will say, I think before we started watching these Nitro episodes, I didn't really have any kind of... I was just kind of on the fence about Sting. He was just there. I know what he's done again and what he has done for the business, and of being a WCW guy and never going to the World Wrestling Federation. But he's not Hulk Hogan. Don't care what you say. Hulk Hogan could come out, he could take a crap on the floor and lay in it, and I'd go, that's fucking amazing. It's Hulk Hogan.
I'm a Stinger convert. I can see why you'd want to watch him every week. He's the man. Yeah, he's just on fire.
Stinger is like the workhorse, isn't he? If he was in WWF, he'd have been the guy who held the Intercontinental title.
I think he'd be like Bret Hart. He's probably at the back in the locker room in WCW crying every time he reads the crap with the Dungeon of Doom. And go, oh, for fuck's sake, really? I've got to go out there, have I?
When Flair jumped ship to WWF in the early 90s and he'd done the whole Real World Champion thing, he apparently used to ring Sting up and beg him to come to WWF.
Ring Sting.
And he used to say to him, got to ring Sting. He used to say to him, if you're this big a star in WCW, if you came to WWF, what would his legacy be? He would have been up there for Bret Hart's and everything, wouldn't he? But he never did. He stayed loyal, and that's it. Or Vince McMahon would have just gave him a totally different gimmick and made him like a bin man or a mountie or something, and gone, well, no one's going to know who Sting is, are they? Have him come out singing Police songs.
Don't stand so close to me. Arn Anderson gets clotheslined to the outside. Brian Pillman gets crotched on the top rope by Sting. Arn and Pillman sort of fall out the ring, and then no one seems to know what's going on, and it just gets announced that they've been counted out. Even the commentators seem a little bit confused by the finish.
I didn't hear a count, did you?
No, the referee sort of, he's telling them to raise their arms, and then they sort of announced. There's quite a few boos as well at that point, which I thought
it was a good match, though. Got cut short. What was the reason for it?
The actual match and like the Sting hot tag was incredible. I thought a better way, if you want to do a count out finish, why didn't Pillman and Arn Anderson basically go, oh, fuck this, and do the cowardly heel thing and sort of walk to the back and give it the, no, we're not doing this? Because they got knocked out by a clothesline and Pillman just got crotched on the top rope.
The thing is, what I got of this match, at the end, they're all celebrating Sting and Flair in the ring, high-fiving. Why wasn't Flair more pissed off that Sting didn't turn up on time?
Sting reveals he was testing Flair, wasn't he? I was testing you, and now I know you're shooting. Now I know you're shooting straight with the stinger. Give me a high five.
I thought it was mad because he's saying that he watched him from the back and he said that Flair was showing guts and heart and determination, and he knows he's on the straight.
He was not doing that at all. He was at the back and he was doing a DNA test reveal, Jeremy Kyle style, working out who the shark really is.
I thought he hadn't finished putting his face paint on. So he's there like, you know, your missus when you're waiting to go to Weatherspoons and you're like, come on. And he's like, oh, just got to do just a bit more.
At least he didn't get bloody Kevin Sullivan to do it.
Yeah.
We do get Sting says that because Rick's on the straight and narrow now, they'll team together at Halloween Havoc and they'll take on Pillman and Arn at Halloween Havoc. Ric Flair, the dirtiest player in the game, is not going to turn on Sting, is he? That's never going to happen, is it?
That's like saying Jerry the King Lawler's going to swap the lock on a cage match and hide it under his crown. It's never going to happen.
And for an hour leading up to it saying, I've got the key to victory. Hey?
I can't see Rick's going to turn on the Stinger. It's never going to happen. So.
Not going to happen in a million years.
To end the show, we just get Bobby Heenan, Eric Bischoff and Mongo telling us what's going to happen on next week's show. So overall, what did you think, Gaz? What's your thoughts on Nitro this week?
It was better than Raw. A little bit of a tease. I say it's a tease. I'm just doing a Jerry the King Lawler. It was better than Raw. What one's going to be my pop?
You'll do a Sam and change it at the last minute.
Was the Undertaker in it? Yeah, I'll swap. No, it was okay. It had Hulk Hogan dressed in black.
What more do you need?
What can I want, really? Yeah. If he came out, as I said, did a shit on the ring and whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's got Hulk Hogan in it. And we mentioned the Chris Benoit Eddie Guerrero match was a great match.
Yes.
And that, I think, so. That was the best match we saw out of the two.
Sam, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, as I said earlier, Raw was a one-match show, and that match was all sizzle and no steak, really, wasn't it? It just was no good. And I think Nitro, it had Benoit and Guerrero, and then the main event, despite the poor ending, was actually like it had a lot of energy, didn't it?
Yes.
You know, the crowd went crazy for Sting, and Sting did his thing. Not bad for what we've seen of Nitro so far.
I enjoyed it. Like I say, we had the Benoit and Guerrero match was good, and the main event was really good. One thing I find with Nitro is they don't really progress storylines as such. They just sort of seem to recap what has happened, but nothing new seems to happen. So that's the only disappointment.
Spin their wheels for a lot of weeks, don't they? They'll show you the same thing over and over again. It's like, move on.
That's exactly what I've got. I've just got, it's like they're spinning their wheels every week. So that's how it feels. We're not really making progress. But Sam, have you got any ratings for us this week?
Yes, I have indeed. So Monday Night Raw achieved a rating of 2.6 on this particular week.
Same as before, isn't it?
Yes, it was. And Nitro slipped slightly to a 2.1 rating.
Ooh.
So which is not a lot in it. And they do flip-flop over the weeks. But yeah, so Raw wins this week.
Hey guys, it's the Sweet Chinwag podcast here. And it's time for
Dave,
Gaz,
and Sam, nice name, to pick their pop and flop of the week from Raw and Nitro.
What is your pop and your flop this week, Sam?
This was a toss-up, really. But in the end, I went with Sting cleaning house and the crowd's reaction to it. It was going to be Benoit and Guerrero, but as we said before, you can't have a pop for a whole match. And it was a 9-minute match. It was very good. But for pure energy, when Sting got that hot tag and the crowd just went, pop. That's what pro wrestling is about. It's about getting their asses off the seats and people screaming.
And your flop?
The Hogan promo.
Oh.
It was just awful. He had different clothes on, but it was shit.
Oh.
That's all I'm going to say.
Gaz, Nitro pop.
The Hogan promo.
It was the Hogan promo, mate. What
It wasn't.
mad planet do you live on? It was Hulk Hogan channeling his inner Marlon Brando, doing his best Godfather impression, stopping elephants with his Hulkamaniacs. What more do you want?
What flopped for you?
The Taskmaster's biro on eyebrows. He just, as I said before, he just looks like an egg with two legs that comes out in a pair of little yellow. It looks like someone's done a little version of Hulk Hogan and borrowed his face.
Because he's in the red and yellow. Also, I think we need to do a little tally up at some point. I think this isn't the first time that Kevin Sullivan's got the flop.
Is he?
I think he's had. I think
King
he's
of the
been
flops?
allocated the flop a few times. Yeah, I think he
Oh.
might be in the lead on the flop league table.
He could be the ultimate flop of it. For my pop, I'm the same as you, Sam. It's the Sting hot tag. As soon as he came in, even I was like, oh, this is amazing. Brilliant. It got me jumping out my seat. And like you say, it's what I watch wrestling for. But my flop was the main event count out. It felt like such a disappointment to such a good match. And they hadn't done loads in the match, but Flair was running wild, doing great things. Sting came in. I thought, oh, she's great. And then it was a shitty count out. So
Yeah. They finally got that level of electricity and energy, didn't they? That lightning in a bottle, and they just
it pissed it up the wall, didn't they, for no reason. So yeah, it was annoying because I think they could have done more with it. And if the commentators kind of grasped what was going on, but no one seemed to know, so a bit rubbish. Raw, what is your Raw pop and your Raw flop, Sam? If we don't have the same pop this week, I'll be stunned.
Okay, I'm going to give you the flop first to keep an air of suspense. So my Raw flop was the beginning cage match promo where everyone was talking in dental terms. It's disgusting. It's got no place in wrestling. And I'm just very happy to say that in the year 2020, there is no one using a dentist. Oh, fuck.
Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
Good old Britt Baker. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was it. Just wrestling. Wrestlers should be talking about wrestling. Okay. And there just needs to be a reason, either because of a feud or a belt that you want, and that's why you're wrestling.
No.
And all of a sudden they're talking about fucking cavities and fillings and ulcers.
Gingivitis.
Yeah.
What was your pop?
Jerry Lawler's nosebleed being raised up no more than 5 meters into the sky, and he got a nosebleed.
Gaz, pop and flop for Raw?
Oh, Sam. How wrong can you be? No, my pop is Jerry's nosebleed.
Gotta be.
Obviously. What else could there be in this episode? It was going to be the tartar and abscess promo at the beginning, but no, it was nothing else to it, is there? I just watched Jerry the King bleed from his nose for about 3.5 minutes, and excellent.
And your flop from Raw?
My flop was Vince McMahon not knowing the name of any wrestling moves apart from finishers.
Yes, it's his company. He can do what he wants, can't he?
Why should he sit on commentary and tell me what's happening with not telling me what's happening?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah, Gaz, you idiot.
Yeah, sorry, Vince. If you're listening.
I'm sure he is.
We've got some listeners in Connecticut, so I'm pretty sure he's one of them.
I hear Vince is actually holidaying in Kenya at the moment.
On his own.
Just on his own. He's got to get his fix, and Monday Night Chores fixed.
Linda's there.
For me, on Raw, my flop was Ahmed Johnson's promo. I couldn't understand what he was saying, and the bits I did understand I thought were rubbish, so I didn't like that. And my pop is obviously Jerry the King Lawler's nose bleeding, because it was fantastic. You can't go wrong with that. Which leads us finally to choose, with Nitro 9-6 in the lead, what was your favourite show of the week? For me this week, it was quite a close one because neither show was particularly action-packed. I thought that Nitro had a couple of matches that I really liked. But Raw did have Jerry the King Lawler in a cage, which was good fun. But the in-ring action on Nitro takes it for me. So 10-6 to Nitro. Sam?
Nitro, yeah. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I've run out of dragon soup.
11-6. Gaz, clean sweep?
I'm going to the dentist. No, it was Nitro. It was Nitro. I was thinking about Raw for the dentistry, and no, Nitro overall was just the better show.
Yeah, the wrestling was bad on Raw. So 12-6 lead to Nitro. They have a clean sweep this week. It's kind of a killer lead for them.
I wonder if they're going to go 83 weeks.
It's a really good idea for a podcast. We should do that, shouldn't we?
You are listening to the Monday Night Chores podcast. Dig it!
If you would like to listen to Monday Night Chores, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify or SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Go on iTunes and give us a 5-star review and just tell us why you think we're the best wrestling podcast in the whole of Kenya.
We're on the social medias, but not on MySpace. If you want to go on Facebook and find us, we're at Monday Night Chores Podcast. We're on Twitter at Monday Night Chores, and we're on Instagram at Monday_Night_Chores.
Again, thank you so much for coming on this journey into 1995 wrestling. Please do feel free to get in touch for any reason. We love hearing from people and chatting to people and finding out what they're enjoying about it. So until next time, it is a goodbye from me, Dave Mack, and a see you later from Gareth Wadland.
I'm off to wipe Jerry the King Lawler's bloody nose.
And a toodaloo from Sam Wakefield.
I'm off to wipe Hulk Hogan's bloody Hulkeroids.
It's Hulkamanioids.
Hulkamanioids, yeah. You're getting confused.
Just say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Perfect. And it is a big Kawahari, which is goodbye in Kenyan. Bye.
It's so fucking international.
Fucking love
Bye.
it. Probably the best promo package we've seen yet of Dr. Isaac Yankum inside a steel cage telling it, no need, Sam. No need. It's just stuff I've got to cut out, isn't it? It's just all stuff I've got to cut out. Embarrassing yourself.
I love it when Dave says that. The anger is
not anger, I'm
seething
just
underneath you.
disappointed. Just disappointed.
Oh, that's worse.
And the doctor just went to me, "You've got very sensitive testicles." And I just went, "Thank you."